The Lions roar to 3-0. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett here on the Franklin Football Show, brought to you by Small Town Society, as they are the new title sponsor. We'll be talking about them here in a little while. And also Walter Commander, as the Lions roll over Mejia 70-6. 2 games in a row with touchdown passes. That might be a team record. That's just one of those you got to get in, do your job type of games, and that's exactly what Franklin did. Bubba Jackson with the big night. Now, I had the stats wrong. Coach told me during the coaches show that it was flipped. I had the stats from the newspaper that Jaden Jackson had over the 100 yards and Bubba had like 80. It was flipped. Bubba Jackson had the big night. And that's scary if you're a Franklin opponent. And all joking aside, the pass, you know, we've talked about it before, Grant and I, on sideline to sideline, with some of these offenses that are slot T, wing T, when they do throw, even if they're effective, they're not always pretty. That was a great pass. In stride, just beautiful. And all jokes aside, if that becomes something that Franklin can go to at times, that just makes an amazing offense that much more amazing. And you want to talk about being consistent. 21 points in the first quarter, 21 points in the second, and then 13 points in the third, 13 points or 14 points in the fourth. That's consistent right there. The defense had no problem shutting down a pretty athletic Mejia team. I mean, Mejia's always athletic. Holding them to 6 points after giving up 33. Again, though, at 33 against Woodville, 13 of it, or 12 of it technically, comes from, 2 scoops and scores. So if you take those away, as far as what the defense actually gave up, that's back-to-back games of giving up under 20 points a game. Now we're going to be talking to the head coach of the Lions. First off, I do want to apologize if you're noticing this is coming up on Friday. I interview Coach Fannin on Tuesdays, and so normally I get that interview up on Wednesday, sometimes Tuesday night, but Wednesday at the latest. But we had some issues that happened Wednesday on, and we just had to deal with those Wednesday and Thursday, and so now that's why this show is coming up. I'm actually recording this at 7:30 in the morning on Friday because I wanted to make sure I got this up in time for people as they're going to the football game to be able to listen to it if that's when they listen to it. But I do apologize for being a couple days late. That won't happen again. But anyway, we're going to be talking to Coach Fannin like we always do. But before that, we want to thank our new sponsor. And that would be Small Town Society. You can check them out online at shopsmalltownsociety.com. They're right there in Franklin at the Messy Nest. And, of course, the Messy Nest studio and event venue is located at 204 Alley Street right there in Franklin. They're open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday and Friday. Open 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sunday. On Saturday. They're closed on Sunday and Monday. Hey, there you go, Messy Nest Studio. I got you a little free plug in there in this advertisement. But they stock Small Town Society apparel. And it's a really cool, I love this company. They have everything you want. It's mostly for women's attire, but they have themes, like they have the holiday seasons. Of course, it's Halloween. I don't care what anybody says to me. Once you hit September, that's Halloween season. I love the fall because, football. But I also love the fall because of the holidays, and Halloween is part of that. And so even when it's 140 degrees September 3rd, I'm happy because that means Halloween's right around the corner. Hey, it is supposed to cool down after tonight. But they have different styles. They have a game day, which is absolutely awesome. Check that out. One of the things I love about this is they've got Franklin-specific shirts. And we always talk about here on the show, and Grant and I always talk about it on Sideline to Sideline, the 3A show you can hear each and every week. One of the biggest things that when you go to Franklin, it just feels different in a good way. And these shirts are a great way to represent Franklin. So you can check those out under the game day selection at smalltownsociety.com. They also have inspirationals. They have holiday. They have Texas. So if you want to be Franklin proud and Texas proud. They also have great sales. They have a section just for that. They also have hats and accessories. So again, check them out. Shop smalltownsociety.com. If you're in Franklin, you can find them at the Messy Nest Studio and event venue located located at 204 Alley Street in Franklin. And we're going to be having a lot of cool stuff coming up through the year with them. They're not only sponsor of the Franklin football show, almost said Franklin ISD show, what we used to call it last year, but they're also a sponsor on our Sideline to Sideline Class 3A show. Again, you can hear each and every week. Grant Goodwin and I. We're also on YouTube at L4 Media Company. So it's an absolute blast that we have them on board, and we do appreciate them. All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, it is the head coach of the Lions, Coach Mark Fannin, to talk about that new fandangled passing system that Franklin has right here on the Small Town Society Franklin Football Show on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media. Is your demanding work lifestyle in need of fire-resistant clothing that can keep up? Well, L4FR clothing should be your go-to for quality, affordability, safety, and style. L4FR was founded by a third-generation oil field worker who is also a veteran. Thus, this company has a deep appreciation for reliability and longevity, all while we provide first-rate customer service. Our durable apparel will serve you well for many years to come, whether you're working on a pipeline, a lineman climbing utility poles, or in any other environment requiring fire-resistant apparel. L4FR has you covered. Our apparel is tough enough to resist hazardous conditions while still providing high comfort and style. L4FR provides clothing options to ensure your safety and comfort, whether you're on the job or not. To view our complete inventory of flame-resistant garments, please visit our online store at L4FRclothing.com or give us a call at 817-757-4935. Si habla español. Terry Bennett back here on the Franklin Football Show. Now joined by the head coach of the Lions, Coach Mark Fannin. And Coach, big win last week against Mexia, 70-6. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought we came out and played a pretty complete game, Terry. We fixed some things that we needed to be fixed against. The week we played Woodville, we turned over the ball way too many times against Woodville, and last Friday we didn't turn over the ball any, and so that was a big bonus. I thought we executed well. We still had in my opinion, a little too much penalties, but we'll fix that. We always are. Our penalties every year at the beginning of the year seem, very, very high. But that'll get better throughout the year. But overall, I was proud of our offense. I was proud of our defense. They stepped up and had another really great game. And we had some kids that kind of, rose to the occasion and kind of stood out, which was a very nice surprise going into this week.
Well, we always talk about how does a team reload when you have talent and you have young guys. How do they, become what you're used to? Well, part of it are games like this because you're getting a lot of your young guys a ton of snaps once this game gets out of hand.
Absolutely. And that when I can get everybody in a football game, that makes me very happy. These kids that are big-time role players for us each year that come out here, and their job is basically to make us better in practice. They're other scout team. They're the ones flying around. They're not getting their names in the paper each and every week, but they're coming out. Their game time is Monday through Thursday. And when I can get a chance to get those guys in a football game, it makes me happy, and I can't be more proud of them because they're itching to get in just as bad as everybody else. And they went in and they did a really good job, and it gets them experience on Friday Night Lights, and that just continues to, it's like it's a process, and that's part of it, and they get better each time they get out there and get some playing time.
Well, you really bring up a good point I didn't think about, but you got these guys that are playing hard in practice. Like you said, they're not getting their name in the newspapers. But a game like this where they get a lot of snaps, that gives them a boost going into the next week where, they've got a little hop in their step because they've got some of that real football.
Absolutely, it does. It's really, really cool to see. And, I preach to these guys all the time about how important those guys are to a program. But if you don't have those guys in the program, how are you going to run a practice? How are you going to have an efficient practice each and every day? And, they're important. They're just as important as your starting running back, as your starting defensive end, starting linebacker, whatever. And that's something I preach each and every year, each and every week to these guys, that, guys, you are just as important, and I'm proud of you. I love you. for coming out here and getting after it each and every practice to make us better. So.
Well, let's talk about Jaden Jackson, of course, having one of his amazing nights as always, 134 yards, 7 carries. Also, another touchdown pass by your offense. But let's also talk about Bubba Jackson, the sophomore, who only on 8 carries, 72 yards and a touchdown. You told me at the beginning of the year, y'all were young, but y'all had a lot of talent in that backfield. And Bubba's just another in a long line of great Franklin running backs who we're seeing at the beginning of his career.
He is, and actually, Terry, Bubba is the one that had the 134 yards.
Okay.
He was our leading rusher, and Jaden was he had the 76 yards. So Bubba is Jaden's little brother. He's a sophomore this year, and he's got so much potential. And I couldn't be more happier for him to get out and had the game that he did last Friday night. He kind of, he stood out, and he was playing with high energy and great effort and it showed after the end of the game. He had a great game, and it's always good to see those young guys get in and get that quality of playing time.
And defensively, we had talked last week, and nothing against Woodville, but that score wasn't really how good your defense had played last week. A couple turnovers led directly to touchdowns with scoop and scores. It was good to see the defense not only play well, but also show that on the scoreboard.
Absolutely. I think our defense is playing really, really good right now. They're flying around. They're playing assignment football. Got a lot of returners on that side of the ball that really understand the ins and outs, and there are multiple coaches on the field during the game. And as a coach, that's a real good feeling when you can, because I trust those guys. They make adjustments, and they come to the sideline with suggestions, and when you can get a group like that on the field and them coming to the sideline and giving suggestions, and you trust them because they played in a lot of football games, that's always a bonus.
All right, you take on Diboll, a team that's 1-1, but they played a really good Madisonville team and kept that within 10 points. They beat Kirbyville last week. What I've seen on both of those games, though, is how impressive that Diboll defense this year, especially that front seven. This Lumberjack defense is going to be tough to run on.
They are. They're always every time Franklin plays Diboll, it's a great game. Coach Morrison is a really good football coach. I respect him in so many ways. He does a really good job over there. He does. His football team's always going to play hard, and they're going to be physical, and we're just going to have to get out there and try to match their physicality and try to get a little more effort. And I expect it to be a great football game from Friday in Diboll.
Man, I guess I hadn't noticed this before, but you really got a tough 1-2 coming up at Diboll and then hosting Jasper, two teams that kind of mirror each other in a lot of ways.
They do. And, Diboll is a really good football team. And I haven't watched much Jasper this year, but they have a lot of returners, and they are a really talented football club this year, and I'm looking forward to these next 2 weeks. It kind of, we'll see where we are after these 2 weeks, and going into district play, we'll see what we definitely need to work on.
Well, and we've always talked about you've got to play the tougher teams in the non-district to prepare you when you're in a district like this, where you've got Lorena and Cameron. And look at Little River Academy. You told me at coach's school they were going to be the most improved team, and they're 2-0 with a real big win over Laga Vista this past week. So, this district is forming into what you thought it would be and how tough it would be.
Absolutely. It's not going to be an easy week, any week this in district play this year. Every one of those guys you mentioned, and Troy's playing better right now too. They beat a good Lexington team this last Friday night. Coach Brashear does a really good job with those guys. From top to bottom, Terry, it's going to be a playoff atmosphere every Friday night. So we can survive that and get through that. It'll prepare everybody in our district to represent this district well in the playoffs. As
a coach, as we're 2 weeks out, y'all start district the 22nd. How much do you start looking ahead at your district stuff? And I don't mean necessarily game planning, but just kind of looking at film and things like that when you can.
Yeah, I don't do much of it. Obviously I check scores and see who won and didn't. But watching film and preparing for those guys right now, we don't do much. We're week by week right now, and we're 100% on die ball, focusing on those guys. And next week we'll move to Jasper. And so other than just checking scores, throughout the district, through each and every week, that's about the extent we do.
Here at L4 Media, we talk high school football, 4A, 3A, and 2A in Texas. We talk East Texas sports. We talk NFL, guy talk, movie and booze. We also talk wrestling and so much more. And you can see it all on our YouTube channel at L4 Media Company. Like and subscribe. As always, we want to thank the head coach of the Franklin Lions, Coach Mark Fannin, for joining us. And again, I want to thank, of course, the Small Town Society, but thank Walter Commander for getting this show started by starting up, funding it. We really appreciate that. We've been wanting to do a Franklin show for a full season for a while now. We picked them up in the playoffs last year. And so it's really fun to get to do a Franklin one all year, not only to talk Franklin Lions, but I enjoy talking to Coach Mark Fannin. He's a blast to talk to, and me and him will talk a few minutes before and kind of catch up with what you saw this week in football, and it's always a blast. And so we appreciate Walter. And, of course, we appreciate our new title sponsor, Small Town Society. Again, you can find them online at shopsmalltownsociety.com. You can also find them at the Messy Nest right there in Franklin, and we're going to be talking about them all year. You can also find them on Facebook. Just type in Small Town Society. All right. The Lions take on a tough one this week in Diboll. This is going to be a physical matchup. The next couple weeks, Diboll and Jasper, they kind of mirror each other as far as the physicality, and they do a little bit different things on offense and stuff in their schemes. But I just mean when you look at them, they look a lot alike. And so the next 2 weeks are really good district primers. I think you're gonna get to see your team. And I know the Woodville game was close, and Franklin came back from 21-7. But you're gonna get to see some more of that with Diboll and Jasper. I think these are gonna be two close games. I think games that Franklin ends up winning. But don't be surprised if you're not at the game and you're looking at the score and you say, wow, Franklin's down. Because these two teams are both pretty salty. And, of course, dude, after that, man, you go right into district. We got at McGregor here in 2 weeks, September 22nd, I think is the game on the Friday. And you write them in, all the games count. I know we joke about it on sideline to sideline, but this all goes by so quick. We're already going to start talking week 4 next week. 3 games will be down in the books week 4 next week. That's how quick this football season goes. And, hey, hopefully next week we'll be talking. It'll be a little bit cooler outside. Again, thanks to Walter Commander and Small Town Society, Coach Mark Fannin, for joining us. Diboll, well, we'll talk about that next week right here on the Small Town Society Franklin Football Show on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media.